we just start with an injury update, specifically Terrell, Dorian, and Curtis?
Yeah, we'll see how they do. Really, no updates at this point. We'll see how the week trends with all three of those guys.
So more of like a day-to-day kind of prognosis for all three of them.
Well, I don't really know yet. I think, but I'm not really sure on Dorian, and then Terrell and Curtis. Again, waiting further what they call it, evaluations, as the doctors tell me.
All right, cool. With the first half yesterday, I know you said that you felt like you guys corrected kind of a lot of things from the first half to the second half, but it has been a little bit of a trend this year that you guys have kind of played from behind, and you've been able to erase some of those deficits. But what do you need to do to kind of start faster, more consistently?
I think just execute comes down to execution, and as you saw yesterday, some fundamentals, and then not beating ourselves with pre-snap penalties. So give all the opponents credit, but there's also an element for us of just execution more than anything.
Cool. Thank you, Sean.
Yep.
Good afternoon, Coach. Pat Freeman from the Buffalo Criterion. How you doing today?
Good, Pat. How are you?
I'm great. Hey, I want to ask you a question. It's something you've always talked about, taking care of the football, and the quarterback is the person that touches the ball the most. And to my understanding, Josh has not thrown an interception yet. How pleased are you with how he has managed games?
He's done a tremendous job, Pat. He really has, and I couldn't be more pleased with the way we've protected the house on offense and special teams. We had a ball on the turf yesterday, potentially two. We were fortunate to get him back there. So all in all, special teams and offense, led by Josh, they've done a great job protecting the house.
My last question to you, Coach. DeWayne Carter, once again, is a young man that is starting to make plays for you. How pleased are you with his development?
He continues to improve. He really does. When I had a chance to speak with him after, it was after the Jets game, and he had a really good game in Houston, and then probably not the game he wanted in New York this last Monday night, but he recognized that, he was aware of it, and then he took another step forward this week, and that's sometimes what you see with young players: 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Just the patience you got to have. I mean, he's not the only rookie contributor. It's Keon, Ray Davis, DC, as you mentioned, Brandon Codrington, and many others like Cole and Zion and Solomon, who are all out there. Zion wasn't out there this past game, but he's been out there. So a lot of rookies contributing for us.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Sure, Pat.
Hey, Sean, thanks for doing this. You mentioned going back to the slow starts and execution thing. Is that more focus? It's because it's so regular. Why do you think that maybe they're not as crisp on either side of the ball coming right out the gate?
It's a great question, John. It really is. Sometimes it's one side of the ball. Sometimes it's both sides of the ball. If I had the exact answer, I would have gotten it changed by now. Believe me, I don't like getting down 10-0 and or whatever it was. I think Arizona was 17-3 or something like that. So I don't have a lot of hair left on my head, and I'd like to keep what I got. So let's just try and get off to a better start.
Just let it go. I could speak from experience.
I see that. I see that. Yeah.
And shifting gears to Tyler Bass, you mentioned him a little bit post game yesterday. Was able to speak with him. Truly, how did you see him handle the past week and take ownership, and then for him to go perform like he did, even though they were relatively short kicks? How critical do you think that was to establish getting him back on track?
I think the way he handled it was as a true pro would. He was honest, forthright, and him acknowledging the situation, and he didn't do anything other than focus in and get his job done. Quite honestly, and hey, that's good enough for me and good enough for the team. So I was happy with the way he performed and how he handled things.
Appreciate it, Sean. Thanks.
You got it, buddy.
Hi, Sean. Spencer Brown yesterday. I know we talked a little bit about the penalties the week before. How did you see him respond during the week? And from just my vantage point, a lot of fans' vantage point, about as complete a game as he could play yesterday, how pleased were you with the way that he responded?
Yeah, well, he made it known, I think, to Brandon after the game. Brandon shared the story with me that he said, Brandon walked up to him and said 0 penalties. So it was on his mind. So he received the message loud and clear. And it's cool that he was, aware of it, not only aware of it, but also intent to get it cleaned up. And that's what he did. I thought he played a real solid game, and the effort down the stretch in the fourth quarter, some of those effort plays were, just to me a trademark of who he is, and then this football team as well, the effort that they give.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Sean, John Worrell with the AP.
Hi, John.
Hi. I know a lot's been made of DeWayne Carter and the impact that he's made now 7 weeks into the season. What do you make of the trust that you put in him to be on the field during that crucial third and fourth down stretch?
Yeah, no, great job by him. Great job by the defensive staff as well. I'd like to take the credit, but I'm not the one that handles the rotation there in those situations. So, Coach West, Coach Edwards do a great job with that, and kudos to them for having DC on the field there. He made a great play.
What does it say about the trust the coaches have, and what DeWayne has been able to show that he's gained that trust? And what is it about him? I mean, a rookie making these types of plays.
Well, again, opportunities are earned. They're not just handed out here. And it's I think more than anything, when you get a small opportunity and you handle it well, you'll get bigger and bigger opportunities as you move forward. And and then I think the other thing that stands out with DC is this situation we went into in the Houston game. He was forced into a starting role, and he made the most of it. I think it was the first play of the game on a screenplay. He disrupted the screenplay, and again made the most of that opportunity to start and play a ton that game. And very impressed by that. And now it's just continual, steady, consistent growth for all these young players, and in addition to our entire football team.
Lastly, you're not going to excuse your schedule. You're not going to, whatever. But how important is it to get a win? You're going against a team now with a winning record in Seattle. The emphasis of maybe taking that next step and proving that you can come away with a victory against, I'm using quotation marks, a quality opponent.
Well, I believe they're all quality opponents in the NFL, regardless of record. And you've been around the league a long time, John. We have a ton of respect for the Seahawks and coach and what they've done out there and the players that they have. And we're going out to the Northwest, and we better be ready and have a great week of practice because they're a really good football team and well coached.
Thanks, Sean.
Hey, Sean, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. It seemed like yesterday things kind of flipped a little bit in the second half in terms of stopping the run when you guys started adding a safety to the box a little more often. What kind of went into that decision, maybe at halftime, end of the second half?
No, actually, I think Bobby really did a good job of varying the calls really in both halves. It wasn't as much the calls as it was just some of our fundamental execution of the call. And so getting our eyes in the right spots, that's a big part of playing good defensive football. So I was really proud of the way that the staff adjusted at halftime and the adjustments that they had to make, which sometimes may not be anything other than just settling the players down and trying to give them a little bit of clarity on what was going on. Because sometimes when you feel like you're out of rhythm, you feel like you don't really know what's happening. You think you plug this hole and this hole opens. And so it's just really trying to get them to understand what's going on so that then they can settle in and do and execute their fundamentals in this game.
And then AJ in the past has talked about leaving some sacks on the table. Well, he's there and he's kind of got the quarterback wrapped up and he gets away. It seems, really since last year he's kind of cleaned that up a little bit, and this year he's had some, not only sacks but some big hits when he gets there. What's gone into him just kind of cleaning up, some missed tackles?
Well, I think, it's probably a better question specifically for AJ, but I would say I think he's really off to a good start. He's doing a lot of good things. He's working on some of the areas of his game that he knows he wants to improve on, which I think is important. And, I think you saw early in the game they ran a draw on a long yardage situation. He got up the field. Later in the game happens again, and he's in better position. So that shows development. That shows growth, even during one game. I think there's more to come there with AJ and more growth to be had in development, and we look forward to it. He's off to a real good start.
It seems Keon is a little bit of the same mold. In Houston, there was an RPO where he wasn't really ready for it, and it hit him in the head. And then yesterday he's ready for it, and I think with 50, 60-yard gain on that. For a young guy like that to kind of see things and make those improvements in such a short period of time, what does that say about him?
Yeah, let me just clear that up, because that was not his fault in that situation. So back in the Houston game. So, but to your point, very, very pleased with how he played this week. Again, more growth and development to come, and thought he had a really good week of practice. And he took advantage, to your point, of his opportunities yesterday, and got some rack with the ball after he caught it, in particular the one that you mentioned. So, very pleased with his performance yesterday.
Thanks.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, now that you've had a day to digest Amari Cooper, I don't know that there's a direct line here, which is why I'm asking you. I asked Josh about it yesterday, but right after the game, it's hard to tell, maybe. He got going in the second half, and your offense got going in the second half. Is his involvement or his ability to make an impact, did that open up things for everybody else within the game? I know that in general it happens in football, but within the game, was there a direct correlation to that?
I mean, listen, when you put a good receiver on the field and a good player on the field, it certainly helps open things up. Is there a specific correlation just to him? I wouldn't say that necessarily. I wouldn't say it isn't, but I would just say overall, I saw our offense start to get into a rhythm better in the second half, probably like you did, Tim, and many of those on the call. And some of that is when you start really winning the line of scrimmage, and being able to run the football like we were in the second half. Very impressed by that. And then that opened up some of the passing game as well. So I thought Joe Brady and the offensive staff did a great job of adjusting, and then the execution led by Josh with some of those throws. And I mean, those were some great catches as well. You mentioned Coop, and you mentioned you got to think about Dalton and some of the catches he made, and some of the runs after catch by Khalil as well. So I'm probably leaving someone out, but overall, I thought the execution in the second half was high level.
When you add that big of a component into your offense, and I'm talking holistically about your offense, not just Amari Cooper, but as a head coach who's been around the league for so long, you can kind of anticipate things. But what's your level of anticipation or curiosity even at 12:45 yesterday afternoon about what your offense is going to look like yesterday?
I'm just more curious if I'm going to get sunburned during the game. I had to make sure I put my sunblock on, Tim. And no, listen. You don't know. I mean, you really don't know, to be honest with you, what it's going to look like, because as I mentioned in the week leading up to the game, there's a certain rhythm. And then you add a player in, and there could be a different rhythm. Is that different rhythm good? Is it sustainable? There's just some unknowns naturally, right? So I thought Coop did a phenomenal job. I thought the offensive staff, the players on offense, Coop's teammates all around, offensively, defensively. There's a really cool shot to me on the sideline of one of Coop's catches where he goes out of bounds onto our sideline, and about 4 or 5 people run over and pick him up or try and help him up. Staff, defensive players, offensive players. I mean, to me, that just shows the character of the players on our team and the staff as well, for that matter.
Thanks so much, Sean.
Sure. You didn't like my sunburn. You didn't like my sunblock joke, Tim.
I mean, I don't think he liked that one, Coach. I don't think he liked that one. It was a beautiful day out there. Definitely had to work on my tan there for a minute. But his Victory Monday, Coach. Awesome job yesterday. Midway, again, through the season here, dealing with a lot of turnover, injuries, new acquisitions. Team is 5-2 and nowhere near jailed, Coach. What impresses you the most about how your team has played so far near the midway point?
I think more than anything, we've shown a ton of poise. The team has shown a ton of poise. I think Josh is really playing the game and especially in the 5 wins and a position of command of the offense and the game, and understanding the situations that the offense is in or that he's in. Throughout a game as the game unfolds. I think, what we've been able to do and coming back, coming from behind, I think has also been good, not ideal. However, I like the way that we're getting contributions from the young players and players that have been forced into action, stepping up, that were primary backups due to injury. And I think that's important because that experience will hopefully pay off down the road for us as well. And so I think the staff overall and the coaches have done a good job of collaborating and communicating during the week and building game plans. And so still, much work to be done, and we're getting right back at it here with getting our focus on Seattle.
Speaking of Seattle, the number 1 passing team, 8th in points, but they got an explosive running back in Kenneth Walker III. On the flip side of that, they really get after the quarterback, ranked 6th in sacks, number 2 in passing, and 4 in points allowed. On top of it being probably one of the loudest stadiums in the NFL, what is it going to take this week for you guys to go in there and pull out a victory?
Yeah, like I said, Mookie, we've got a ton of respect for the Seahawks and their organization, their coaching staff, the players. Tough place to play. We'll have to practice this week at a high level each and every day as we prepare to go out there and earn the right to win, really.
Yeah, I know the speakers is going to be loud as ever at practice. Have a good week, Coach.
All right. Thanks, you too.
Hey, Coach, your team leads the NFL in turnover differential at +10 right now. How crucial has that been to the 5 wins that you guys have so far?
Yeah, it's been huge, Matt. It really has. Again, like I mentioned earlier on the call, the way that the offense and special teams units have taken care of the ball, protected the house, the job that Josh Allen has done on, being smart with the ball, throwing the ball away when he needs to, sliding when he needs to as well. To me, the level, his level of decision making has increased this season, and been very important to our team and the wins that we've had. So, and then the defense and special teams, working to get takeaways and feed the offense has been good to see as well.